Oh, testing 1 2 3. Check 1 2 3. 1 2 1 2. Okay. I believe we are live. My apologies for all of that mucking around at the beginning, but this is one of the first times I've done a live stream that hasn't been scheduled, so there's a bit of a new experience for me there. So I apologise for all that mucking around, and hello, my name is Bruce Rain from Brankus Creations, and thank you for joining my stream. I do apologise for all of that rough beginning there, but as I say, it's one of the first times I've done a stream that hasn't actually been scheduled, so it's sort of it's kind of a new thing for me. So I couldn't be bothered waiting for the scheduling, so I just wanted to go live. So thank you to everyone for joining. Zombie Geek 33, Leo Schneider. Damien Mascord, first time during the live stream. That's wonderful. Thank you for joining. I am streaming at a slightly different time than I would normally. I mean, for starters, it's a Friday here, and it's about 1:45. Hello, Sadmac356, Michael Weir, Action Retro, Andrew Henderson. Oh, and there's Jay, the House of Moth. Thank you for joining. eBuy05. Thank you for joining. To all of you, I do thank you very much. And I must apologise in advance for, where is it? This dot, and this dot, and this dot. It's interesting because I saw those and I thought they were just some grit on the screen until I changed to another camera. Someone did point them out to me, someone being, of course, Jay, point them out to me during one of my previous streams. I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to have to clean that camera. The camera's clean. I think I know what happened. When I got my UV laser, I pointed it at the camera for a bit of fun to show everyone that I had a UV laser. And I suspect I may have done some permanent damage to the CCD inside that camera from my little UV laser. So until I get a new camera, which I'm clearly going to have to do, I'm afraid you guys are going to have to live with these little dots. So I am very sorry about that. I know it's a bit rough and all that. Want to stop frantically trying to clean the screen. Yes, I know it is frustrating, isn't it? I mean, you look at it there and think, oh, get out of it, get out of it. Yeah, right in the middle of my eye or something like that. I have a new addition behind me here. It's just there. This is a new ultrasonic cleaner. When I say new, it's like, I know it looks old and cruddy, but I have just finished making this. So I made this ultrasonic cleaner yesterday. It's not quite finished yet. I need to add drainage into it. I'll probably attach some sort of hose so that I can then sort of empty it out into a bucket or something like that. I need to add a proper switch to it. It's got a fan in there, but at the moment when you switch it off or on, the fan's off or on. I want to make it so that when you switch it on, the fan comes on all the time, and then when you ultrasonic, you just switch on the ultrasonic. So I effectively want two switches, one for the fan, one for the ultrasonic. I have it at the moment, because there's no switch, I have it at the moment just rigged up to one of these wireless power switchy thingies. Oh wow, that's there. That is a great thumbnail, isn't it? Yes, I was hoping it might actually use a thumbnail like my default image, but instead it's got a freeze frame picture of me going. So I have this little app on here. It's these. We all know these Wi-Fi, sort of plugs that you can buy. This one's a TP-Link one. Links in using the Casa software, and then I can just switch it off and on from the phone. But the main advantage why I like this is that you can set a timer with this, so I can actually switch it on, and then set a timer for it to automatically switch off after 10 minutes or something. So it's a makeshift option until I get a proper switch in there, but it works quite well for the moment. Show me get to see if new blobs emerge. No, I won't do that. Didn't notice the dots until now, so I apologise for that. Oh, hey, hello. So anyhow, this is my new ultrasonic cleaner. I've made it out of one of those big sort of cooking type dishes. What I call them, gastronorm. That's the size that they use. They refer to them as gastronorm size. And you have a full size gastronorm, a half, a quarter, and they're all just divisions of this. This is a full size gastronorm. It's not perfect. If it was just about probably 10 to 20 mils wider, maybe an inch wider, it would be absolutely perfect. But it does allow me to get a Mac 2 board in the cleaner fully submerged. It has to go in at an angle, but it does go fully submerged. So I can clean a Mac 2 board now, and I could not do that. Before I couldn't. I could only clean like that much and that much on the other cleaner. So now I've actually got the ability to clean a whole Mac 2 board. And I haven't tried a Quadra 950 board in there, but I will do that. It doesn't have a heater built in, so I have to heat it with my little immersion heater, but I've got a little thermometer connected to it. And one thing I can tell you, if you do decide to make one of these, I am going to be doing a video on the construction process. If anyone wants to make one, I'm running this with 8 50-watt transducers, which works out at around about 90-something watts per gallon of power, which is within the realms. If you don't want to have too much power, you don't want to have too little. But one thing I will say is you've got to make sure you ground the tray, the metal tray. I originally ran it and it wasn't grounded, and I was just playing around with it, and I got quite a shock. It wasn't like the full 240 volts. It was about 60 or 70 volts, thereabouts. But you could definitely feel it, that's for sure. So it's now grounded, and so now it's all safe to use. I mean, when I say safe, there is nothing here up to code. I mean, this is an absolute nightmare. But I do not believe it's going to catch on fire, and I do not believe it's going to kill me. So it's good enough for me. But yeah, that's just how I do things. So, Mike Summerside, hello to you. I think I've said hello to everyone else. If I haven't, I apologise. It's nothing personal. So anyhow, I was one of the main reasons why with this ultrasonic cleaner I built it a bit chonky to start off with is because I couldn't test it until I had it in a box. And so I had to build the box, then put it in there, then fill it up with water, and then test it. And so you kind of committed to getting a fair way down the track just to test it. So I've now tested it, and it works beautifully. So now I can go in and look at getting the, sort of the drainage and stuff set up for it properly. I'll go in and do that now. But I didn't want to spend any more money on it on the off chance that it wasn't going to work at all. One thing I did also want to say to people about ultrasonic cleaners, and I will be including this in my video, for people out there that might have seen videos on making your own ultrasonic cleaner, a lot of those DIY videos are out there are not actually ultrasonic cleaners. It's someone's got an orbital sander and they've glued it to a bucket or something like that. That's not actually an ultrasonic cleaner. It's not ultrasonic unless it is, sort of vibrating it over 20,000 hertz or 20 kilohertz. And so, this one is 40 kilohertz. And there is a really, really simple way to test whether your ultrasonic cleaner really is an ultrasonic cleaner. You grab a piece of tin foil, or aluminium foil as we call it, just a sheet. You put it into water. You switch it on for about 10 seconds, switch it off. You take that out. If you look at it through the light and you see tiny little pinholes all the way through it, it's ultrasonic cleaning. If you don't see little pinholes all the way through it, it's not ultrasonic cleaning. It's just moving things around. So anyhow, that's enough of... I'm a little bit ultrasonic centric at the moment because I spent all day yesterday making this thing. Anyhow, is this the Mac 2 board from that lot from Zach? No. No, so where did this one come from? This came from one of my customers, sent me a bunch. They sent me... Max, no. That one's still up in the house. That one, so yes, that's that other one, which is mine. I was actually going to do a live stream of that, but then someone else then sent me a Mac 2 board. And I thought, well, I may as well live stream with someone else's board rather than my own. So this is actually someone else's board, not the one that I got from Zach. So yeah, so just relaying, Max sort of tipped me off on a group of computers that was being sold, and I bought a bunch of them, and there was a Mac 2 amongst them, and it's one in a very similar condition to this. I did a video on this one once before. I did sort of a part one of this. I didn't complete it because I wanted to do some other things in that video as well. So this, what I did with it before was I cleaned it up a bit. I took all the caps off, and I had a look at some of the trace damage. And we've got maybe 6 or so traces to repair. We'll see. Very keen to test out that Radius pivot monitor in a few weeks. Yes, I bet you are. It's sitting in my storage unit all ready for you to get. So it looks in good condition too, just by the glance that I had. So for those who aren't aware of the Radius pivot monitor, it was a monitor that you could buy. I think it was a 14-inch from memory. And you could basically, it was, you know, in the early days of, you know, of computing and stuff like that, before you had great big massive monitors like you do these days. Or even, you know, because I mean, we had 21-inch monitors and 20-inch monitors back in the day. This was a 14-inch monitor that you could run as a landscape, but it had a pivot on the back, and you could actually turn the monitor on that pivot and turn it into a portrait monitor. So if you were wanting to do some portrait page layout, you could go into your portrait mode, and then if you wanted to do other stuff, you could flip the monitor back again. So the monitor actually physically pivots from a landscape to a portrait. And if you had the right software, you had to have the Radius software installed on your computer, it would just automatically refresh. So the moment it realized that it was being tipped past a certain angle, it would just automatically refresh and redraw as a portrait or as a landscape, depending on how you had it. So you could actually just live change it. So, you know, your menu bar was in the right place. It wasn't on the side and everything like that. So anyhow, that was that's a Radius pivot monitor. And I mean, you know, nice little piece of history. I tend not to collect monitors because they take up way too much space. But if I was going to collect the monitor, that would be the one that I would want to collect. Hello, Oz Retro Comp or Tone. Hello. All right. So this, I've prattled on for a while. I'll just go and have a look and see. 13 folks here. I didn't do any sort of prep with this. I didn't do any putting it on Facebook or anything like that. So this is purely going to come down to people getting notifications from YouTube, which of course is never particularly reliable. But I have a huge amount of recapping to do at the moment. Just boxes keep turning up at my doorstep every single day. And I have got to get on top of some of this. So I came down here to do some recapping. I thought, well, I may as well live stream because this one is a little bit more interesting than some of the ones that I do. So only a little bit, though. So I'm going to just jump across to the microscope view here for a second so we can have a good old look-see. And let me just get this in focus. Anyone who might have been watching Steve from Mac84, watching his live streams lately, he was been working on a Mac 2, and his one has looked very, very similar. Has the A1200 turned up yet? I think so. There's an unopened box in there, and I need to check. So, yeah, actually, yes, it is. Yes, it is your name on it. Yes, it is yours. Yes, so it has turned up. I haven't opened the box yet. I will be doing that later today, and you'll get a little notification. So I've got a little repair ticket system that when I get a job in and I fill it all out, I send a notification to the customer to say that it's been received. So apologies that I'm a little bit slack on that, but yes, it did arrive. It was in an always fresh box, I think. Does that sound right? Something like that, or some sort of food fresh thing box. Fresh something fresh. Fresh. Okay. Fresh A1200s. Repurpose fresh box. There you go. Yes, that's the one. Oh wow, I've managed to melt this. Oh, that's cool. I am drowning in components at the moment. I need to get better storage for all of these. I went out and sort of bought the entire supply of sound chips for Macintosh Color Classic, Color Classic 2, LC520, LC575. I think maybe even the there are a lot of the LCs all use this same sound chip, and they fail a lot because they're right next to those capacitors. And I've been hunting to try and find them for a really long time, and I found a place that sold them, so I bought all of them. I let Steve have a couple because I'm nice, but I let Steve buy a couple, and then I said, you let me know when you're finished buying yours and I'll buy the rest. So, all right, so just having a look here, we can see there's all these dots going on here. Which is the real problem with these old Mac 2s. You know, they get this little spattering of dots all over. Now, I can tell you just by looking at these that my scalpel's dirty. Let me just clean this up a bit. GT, hello, thank you for joining. Just obviously reminding everyone about the whole Mac Yak show, which we just had a few hours ago. GT, of course, the host of the show, and House of Moth here as well, also from the show. We get together and we talk about Mac stuff. We yak about Macs. So just a reminder to everyone that if you are not a subscriber of that show, please jump onto Mac Yak and subscribe. We do actually have a giveaway. So once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're giving away some cool stuff. I mean, unless, of course, you don't like Macs, in which case we're giving away garbage. But most of the people will like Macs who are going to subscribe. They will want some of this cool Mac stuff. So yeah, Mac Yak. If anyone wants to put in the Mac Yak link, please feel free to do the Mac Yak channel. So what I'm really doing at the moment, I'm just going around scraping some of these black spots just to see that I reveal copper underneath it. Because that tells me that they're still going to be making contact. Now, I do know I've done quite a bit of scraping and a bit of tinning as well. I do know that I've got some broken traces here. I mean, you can see there's one right here, clearly broken in several places along there. And there, and there. It's amazing where it's just got this one trace, isn't it? All the way along. That's probably gone as well. This one here, look at that. Jeez, oh, you can't see it. Let me pull that down. These stupid massive boards, they're such a pain to work on. So we've got this grossness here. Oh, look at that. I've got a little bit of a glare there, Jay. Please about that. So, yeah. So we've got a little bit of trace repair to do. I've got to put some caps on this as well. And then I do plan to fire it up and test it. I mean, even if it's not 100% perfect, I want to see if it's going to work. One of the things I have found about these Mac 2s is they're fairly resilient. If you're thinking about, say, 840AV or even SE30 for that matter, I've found with those that, I mean, everything has to be perfect. If there's the slightest bit of damage, they're not going to work. Whereas these Mac 2s, I think even if you've got a couple of missing traces here, a couple of damaged traces or some iffy traces or vias, they still seem to work. So, look at all these spots. Spots, out damn spot. Right. Well, I think the first thing we need to do with this is put some caps on it. Abraham, hello. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so, I do need to ask you this question, Tone, about your A1200. I don't know if I asked you this before. I may have asked you this. The A1200, does this sit here? No, it's the A600. The A1200 has a composite video encoder chip on it. So when you have an RGB signal, you obviously can connect to a monitor and get an RGB signal. But if you don't have a monitor and you want to run it through the TV, you have a composite video output, and there's a little plug on the back there to plug it in to a TV or whatever via composite video. Now that's done by an encoder chip, a composite encoder chip. Although the encoder chips themselves are okay, they have a little delay circuit that runs out from that, and that's these little round filtery things, little square filtery things, and they fail. And they are starting to fail more regularly now, and they can't be replaced. There is a mod that you can do to put a different chip on in place of the original encoder chip that allows you to bypass the delay circuit. Slightly improves the composite output video picture as well. Please let me know if you would like me to do that mod to your A1200. I mean, if your composite video is still working and you're happy with it, or if you never use your composite video output, you may not even want to bother with it. But if you do want to use the composite video, let me know, and if you want me to do that mod, I'm happy to do it. I have the chips here to do the mod. It basically requires the removal of a few components, replacement of a chip, and the addition of a resistor, and that's it. So, right, let's get some caps on this, shall we? There is a really nifty website. Jay has put a link out there already, which shows us recapping guides, which I am going to now because I don't think I printed one out here. And if I remember rightly, all of the surface mount bar one are 47 microfarad 16 volt. Yes, so the only other one is a 10 microfarad 16 volt, and the others are axials. So let me just is it 10 16 10 microfarad 16? Yeah, 10 microfarad 16, and that goes. Oh, I'm going to have to do a trace repair on that one as well. So that's this one, yeah, C6, yeah. Right, so let us continue. Right, so let's start with that 10 microfarad 16, and then we'll do a little trace repair. This is the repair that we need to do here. As you can see, there's a very, very clear break going on here between this pad and this little via. By the way, when I'm saying it with my Aussie accent, I know some people aren't quite sure what I am saying. I am saying via, V-I-A. It is Latin for way, and it is the term given to these little hoopy, loopy little copper tubes that run between layers on a logic board. Now, obviously, the most common thing is for them to run from the top to the bottom, but a computer like this is likely to have probably another 2 or 3 layers in the middle. So, right, now let's see if we can suck all the solder out of this via, which we did. God, that was easy. Did anyone see how easy that was? I'm going to get messages from people now. People contact me and they go, I'm trying to get the solder out of the via. It didn't work. What did you do to make it come out so easily? I'll be like, lucky dude, lucky. Okay, so let me just see if I can find where this goes on the other side. These boards are so large and cumbersome, it's very annoying. Right, there it is. So this one goes to this little hole here. Let's get some focus happening. Am I going the right way? Yes, I am. There we go. There's some focus. Okay, look at that little resistor sitting there. All right. So I'm going to just scrape off here to that. Make a little spot, and then we can run a wire through it. I'm going to choose my trace repair wire, which is the 34 AWG. That's American wire gauge. I don't know who came up with the American wire gauge, but I'm guessing it was an American. I probably have it in millimeters as well. But anyhow, 34 AWG, if anyone's wanting to buy a similar sort of wire. I'm going to pop this wire through the hole here. I'm going to bend that down. Going to get a little bit of flux onto there. Who am I kidding? It's going to be a lot of flux. Were these caused by leaking caps or spots, or all over the logic board, even in empty areas where I see a cap? Yeah, okay. So there are a couple of things. There are ultimately 3 things that can cause this. One is obviously leaky caps. 2 is a leaky battery, and 3 is moisture. This is a very old board. The moisture, the what do you call it? The mask on top of the traces, could weaken with time, and this may well have just been stored really badly. But most of the damage is around the batteries. So even though the batteries didn't appear to have physically leaked, you couldn't actually see some of the funk you see from some of those Maxell batteries that go pa-choo. It wasn't like that, but there was definitely something had come out, or whatever it was definitely causing corrosion around the battery. So this was definitely largely battery damage that we're talking about here. Let's get some solder and some tweezers. I stepped on one of my pairs of tweezers the other day, so they probably won't work as well anymore. Oh, jeez, that scared me. Sorry, a bird just landed on the roof of my workshop here. My studio, my fancy studio. I am planning, hopefully this weekend, we'll see if I have time, to build myself some sort of storage device for storing logic boards, because I literally have so many logic boards here now that I'm really struggling with places to put them. So I'm going to dedicate a shelf and I'm going to put a whole bunch of vertical slats along there so that I can then just feed logic boards into it. That way I think it'll be the safest way to store them. And they need to be fairly big because I do some of these big boards. Right, so flipped over to this other side again, so sorry if everyone's getting motion sickness. Okay. So then I'm not going to solder this one up yet. I'm going to put the component on first, and then I'll solder it across to the component. Just got to clean up this little bit of solder that I left on this pad when I was doing some mucking around before. Muck. Right. Well, I thought I was getting a visit from a bird. It sounded too small to be little Bernadette, though. So, anyone who's watching this for the first time, Bernadette is the name of one of my chickens, which sometimes comes and visits me here in the studio. If I keep saying studio, people might believe that it's a studio and not a shed. Capacitors. Where are my capacitors? That's not them. I added some capacitors to the containers the other day. I wonder if I left them up in the house. I might have to go up and get them. I had to order some more because I just go through a ridiculous amount of capacitors. So, my apologies, folks. I will be back in just a moment. I've got to go and fetch some capacitors because without them, recapping is pretty darn pointless. Hello. So yes, I had left the capacitors up in the house. And got some more JB weld, got some more grease, all the bits and pieces that I use out here. These are my Amiga recapping caps. So I have a container specifically for Amigas because I do actually have a couple of Amigas here at the moment. They're fancy polymer hybrid caps, by the way. They're not, even though they look like surface mount electrolytics, they're actually they're not leaky ones. So here are my tantalums, which are getting low. I've got an order in for some more. I hope it arrives soon. Oh, that's not the one I want though. I want 10 microfarad 16. Yeah? No. Yeah? No. Yeah? Yeah. This is tiny. This is going to fit. I'm sure it was 10 microfarad 16. I better look again. I don't want to be made a fool. 10 microfarad 16, yep. Okay, 10 microfarad 16. They're little. That's a little tiny one. So if I grab my tweezers, will it fit here happily? I'm guessing it probably will. Oh, where's plus? Anyone? Anyone? There it is. So there we go. Yeah, he's going to sit on there nicely. That's good. So once again, the old thing with tantalums is the little line is on the positive side, whereas if you were dealing with an electrolytic cap, the line would be on the negative side. I'm fairly sure it was some geek that figured that out, that wanted to feel clever and confuse people, so that's why I decided to swap the lines around. Right. Straight, crooked. What's going on here? There we go. Better. How's everyone doing? I suspect it's fairly late for some of my US viewers, certainly the ones on the excuse me, on the East Coast. And I do apologise for those that might need to head off to Slumberland. Oh, jeez. Oh, I haven't got the fan on. Oh, uh-oh. I stole the plug for the fan, my ultrasonic cleaner. So what now? I think I'll have to swap it around. I've got to have the air blowing. Oh! What happens when you switch it on by accident? Right. Okay. Now we can have some fan. So that's my fume extraction. Is it fixed yet, please? No. Hello, Dana. Thank you for joining. Yeah, in a little late tonight, stupid notifications. No worries, Crazy Tech Reviews. That is the norm. Everyone expects that these days. The old, if you relied entirely on YouTube notifications, you'd sort of, I think you'd struggle to get an audience. But I am relying on it tonight entirely. So the fact that I have this many people watching, I think, is encouraging. But I'll probably get, sort of angry messages from people tomorrow saying, "You were streaming, you didn't let me know." And I'll be like, "I didn't get the notification." Okay, there is our little trace repair. I'm quite happy with that. Let's trim that off. So there is our first cap in place. That's our 10 microfarad 16 volt. As you can see, this has pads for surface mount capacitors, but the computer itself originally came with an axial capacitor in that spot. But you can see that the board was designed so that it could take either an axial or a surface mount. It's the same with this one here. This is a 47 microfarad 16 volt going into this spot. And as you can see, we've got two little holes here. Now, admittedly, they're filled with solder. We've got these two little holes here, and then you've got, well, what's that? And then you've got these pads here as well. So, yeah, looking good. So let's get all these 47s. There's 13 47s on this, I think, from memory. Are you going to fill back in that via? Which one? Which one? This one? No. I'm quite happy it's soldered from the other side, but you know what? For the sake of people's OCD, mine included, I will probably just put a little blob of solder on there. Come on, blob. Blob. It's probably all just pouring out the other side. There we go, there's a blob. Nice little neat blob on there. Happy? Yeah, okay, so everyone, is everyone happy now? I'm seeing a lot of objections there. So, is everyone content now that that one's been filled? From the other side? I want to keep everyone happy. And I was confident that it was sealed from, because it was well soldered on the other side of there. But, I mean, I do understand that some of these things, they, people look at them and they go, "Oh, that's hurting my eyes." Can't blame them. I used to have a bit of OCD when I was a youngster, I tell you. Whoopsie. So, once again, when I talk about these, I generally say the same stuff again, just for the sake of people who may not have watched my streams before. This is a 476. You can see the code written on it there. It's telling me it's 47 microfarads. And the way I can figure that out is it is 47 plus 6 zeros. That's what the code denotes. 47, and then 6 tells me there are 6 zeros after it, which would tell me it's 47 million picofarads. And there is 1 million picofarads in a microfarad. So I can tell you that is a 47 microfarad. Ta-da! So in other words, if you see the 6 on the end, the first 2 digits are the measurement in microfarad. So I know that's a 47, and I know that's a 10. Right. Okay. We've done it. There's a little bit too much solder there on that side, but you know what? No one's going to know. No one's going to know. All good. It won't be like some of Steve's really early streams. I can talk bad about it because he's not here. Okay. Right, gonna clean this up a little bit as well. The paint has actually caused that this what do you call it? This trace, or what do you call it? Yeah, there's the coating to weaken. You know, realistically, what I should be doing is scraping off every single bit of dark UV coating and retinning, cleaning it all up, because the risk of, you know, ongoing corrosion. But there is a limit to what I can really do. I mean, this has so much of that dark, you know, darkness on these traces. I would literally be having to scrape every single bit of UV off this board entirely. So I can't really do it to the whole board, and I don't think anyone would blame me for that. I think most people would reasonably understand that there is a limit to what I can actually do. I mean, if the customer wants to go to town and start scraping all that off, good for them. Are these capacitors? They certainly are. I used to use AVX capacitors. Nothing wrong with them. They're all fine. But I started having some supply issues with the AVX one, so I changed over to Kemet. Now I buy Kemet for all these capacitors from now on. As I say, we're using tantalum capacitors. One of the most common questions I get asked by people is, are you worried about using tantalums because they fail shorted, whereas an electrolytic fails open? Although that might be true, tantalum capacitors are insanely reliable, and as long as they're not being used outside of their spec, they're pretty darn reliable. And I would say the risk is probably far less of a tantalum capacitor damaging your board than a leaky electrolytic. Of course, the best thing to probably be using would be the new polymer capacitors, but they are quite a bit more expensive. So, you know, if people want to pay the extra for me to put polys on their board, I will do that. But ultimately, yeah, I use tantalums on these, and so far so good. Okay, so we've got 2 capacitors on there. That's 11 to go. There's absolutely all over the board. There's no rhyme or reason here. There's just capacitor spots all over the joint. Right, and another one. Good old C8. Our friend C8. Yes, of course, any capacitor will have problems used outside its specs, but whereas you might have some that are you know, kind of maybe got a little bit more leeway. Some capacitors are probably a little bit more resilient if used outside of their spec. Okay. No one should ever use a cap outside of the spec. I've actually been thinking one day I'd love to actually just grab a capacitor and blow it up with the bench power supply one day, just for a bit of fun. Because that's the thing that gets views on YouTube, isn't it, when you blow stuff up? Okay. Crad Slab, hello and welcome to the stream, and thank you very much for saying. I'm pleased to hear. I'm glad you're watching the streams and enjoying. Or not enjoying, as the case may be. As I always say to people, if you are not enjoying my videos, please feel free to do the thumbs down or don't watch them or whatever. It's all a bit of fun as far as I'm concerned. If I help someone along the way, that's great. I do actually stuff myself up a lot of the time by doing these videos. Because what I'm trying to do a lot of the time is encourage people to get on and do this stuff themselves. Don't practice on your valuable boards. Practice on an old VCR or something like that. Don't practice on the stuff that is of value. But once you've got your confidence up, you know, by all means do this stuff yourself. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to say to people. One of the problems I have is some people don't necessarily listen to that particular bit of advice about try out on a VCR first, and they just go straight for their valuable board, like their SE30 or something like that, or LC2 or 3 or something like that. They're a nightmare because there are so many capacitors on there, and they're all close together. And people do stuff, and then it doesn't work, and then they send it to me, and they say, oh, I tried, but it's not working. Can you fix it, please? And they're generally they're a much bigger job than just doing a straight recap. So I kind of stuff myself up by doing these videos. But I don't mind. As I say, I'm encouraging people to get in and do this stuff themselves. I think it's fun. Good move. Oopsie. Ding. Try blowing up an old lithium polymer battery. No. No. I can see someone getting hurt. Someone will have an eye out. It'll be fun for someone else to do, though. Okie dokie. Need to get hot air. Yeah. Yeah. Look, the hot air station I think is probably one of the most important things to get when you're doing this. I mean, obviously you need a soldering iron. We all know you need a soldering iron. God, I hope my new flux comes in soon. I'm running very low. You know, only a couple more Rossmans out of that, and I'll be gone. I have some backup flux, but I'd much prefer to use the Amtech. I've got like a whole stack coming, but it just hasn't arrived yet. Yeah, you know, obviously we know a soldering iron, pretty straightforward, pretty easy to get hold of. You know, you can buy a cheap one relatively easily. You can buy them at a lot of different places. Hot air station's a little bit more expensive. You know, maybe a little bit harder to find. But I would say if you are going to be doing anything that involves removing components, particularly if you're going to be working on an IC with, you know, essentially anything with more than like 2 pins on it. If you try and take off an IC, let's say something like this little guy, if you try to remove this with just a soldering iron, I guarantee you will make an absolute meal of it. So you've got to have a hot air station if you're planning to do that sort of repair. If you're going to be actually thinking about replacing some of those components, or maybe taking them off and cleaning them up and putting them back on again, you've got to have a hot air station. And it's not ridiculously expensive. When I first got my very first hot air station, not a very good one, but it worked, did the job. I overpaid for it. I bought it at an electronics retailer, and it was the only one they had. Well, they had a more expensive one, but it was the cheapest one that they had there. And I grabbed it. And of course, I've since now, if you jump onto Amazon or you jump onto eBay, there are lots of adequate hot air stations for really cheap. And so that's what I would generally recommend to someone would be get onto, you know, Amazon or eBay, get yourself a cheap. Ow! I just burned myself. Don't do that very often anymore. But of course, I did it because I was, you know, coming in at the wrong angle. And the reason why I'm coming in at the wrong angle is because this board is so big. If I was working on a little Classic or a Plus or an SC or an SE30, you know, those boards are nice and nimble. You can spin them around and do whatever you want. But these ones, they're just so bulky. Pain in the backside. Right. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll move along. I think I might be ready to flip the board around now. Looking. Look. Oh, there's one here. Actually, can I do that? I can't do that from this angle because it's so stupid. Right. Let's have one here. There's a little C1. So normally when I'm doing a recapping, you would see me take off the caps, and then you would see me clean the pads, and then you would see me put the capacitors on. As I say, I did all of that in the last stream because I knew that there was no way I was going to get this thing going in one stream. So I did part of the job in the previous stream. This has spent some time in the ultrasonic cleaner, getting the worst of the gunk off. It's, you know, could probably still do some extra time, and you can still see that these still look pretty rough here. The main thing is we just need to make sure that these pins are all still adhered. Yep, and they even though they look all crunchy and ugly, they're still making contact. We still have continuity. There we go. I don't normally clean the board before I recap because I get all this flux gunk on it. It just makes more sense to clean it afterwards. But I've still got the adhesive there. Piffle. Damn. Consarnate. Let's see if I can get this off with the soldering on. There we go. There we go. But yeah, with this one being so bad, I did want to clean it first. Get some of the worst of the stuff off, and more importantly, potentially expose things that might give me grief later on. I could maybe look at a trace and think, oh, that's still making contact. I don't need to do anything about that. Then it goes in the cleaner, and then that trace gets eaten away by the ultrasonic stuff, and then, you know, all of a sudden it's not working. So I wanted to clean it first to try and, you know, remove anything that, you know, might be likely to fall apart and stop the thing from working, so I can repair it before I test it. There's one here. All right, let me just have a quick look at the chat in a moment, make sure I haven't missed anything ultra interesting. But located in or near the ocean, maybe salt air. Well, I don't think they are. I'm fairly certain they're not. But one of the things that does happen with these a lot, we see it with vintage computers all the time, is these things being stored in an outdoor location. Garage, shed, storage unit, something like that. You store it in these places that are much more susceptible to changes in temperatures, you know, sort of when it gets hot and cold at night. And those changes in temperatures, then, you know, you end up with a lot more moisture in the air when the temperature drops at night. You know, it gets very, very humid, and then that's what can do it. So it can actually happen because a lot of these things, and not surprisingly, a lot of these things end up getting stored outdoors. I mean, I know I, in the past, had old computers stored in a garage. Terrible for them, you know. You can do it, but you need to either wrap them up or put them into some plastic containers. I know I've found that. I've got some of these, you know, those big plastic storage containers that you can buy. If you put a computer in one of those and even just drop in a couple of little sachets of that silica gel, and as long as there's it's reasonably well sealed, you can put that in an outdoor location, and that will be fine. I know, because I have actually done it, and the computers inside have been fine. But if you're just going to sit them on a shelf in a shed or something like that, you're likely to see all sorts of problems occur. So, yes, well, I tested this. The very first thing I did with this ultrasonic cleaner is I tested it on a board, which I think I have here. And this is a funny board because this one had so much dirt on it. It's a color classic 2. I had this is it here, and it had been left out for ages. I had rated it for parts. It had flux all over it. It had dirt. It had grit. It was just the grubbiest thing out there. But if this got damaged by the cleaner, I wasn't particularly concerned about that. So I used this as my first test one. And I tell you what, this thing just came out spotless. I mean, I know there are missing components, but look at the sheen on that board. You know, I mean, you could do your hair in that, couldn't you? Put your makeup on. It's so clean. So as I say, I mean, it's a shame I don't have a before picture to show you, but oh, look at this. Someone just giving me some money. Thank you very much, eBuy05 for that. I do appreciate that. I always love the super chats. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That little bird outside is making me happy. Yes, that's That sounds like, I think it's a currawong. It's either a currawong or a magpie or something like that. One of our little Aussie birds. There's lots of bird noises happening at the moment because it is starting to warm up here. It's starting to feel a little bit like spring, even though spring doesn't actually start officially for, what is it? For a few days. But it is there is definitely already spring activity going on out there. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, the bird noises are going to be getting crazy in my future live streams, I'm afraid. It's when the the coels come. The coels actually they migrate, so they come down south here during the spring, and they're actually a cuckoo, so they lay their eggs in other birds' nests, and then they come back to fetch them, and then they go fly north again when it gets cold with their baby that has been raised by a different bird. It's kind of a dog act, isn't it? There we go. Moving our way through these caps. This is capping up very nicely. Righty. How many Rossmans per hour of flux burst recap? Yeah, I'm kind of annoyed with myself. I've done this twice now. I need to find a better system where I haven't realised I've needed to get more flux until I'm running already quite low. And same with the capacitors. I bought a big batch of capacitors quite recently, and I thought they would last me for ages. And then the other day, I just went to do a recap, and I looked in there, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, there aren't any left." So there's probably only 2 or 3 recaps left on there. But as I say, I have ordered some others. They are on the way, and if worst comes to the worst, I do have another supplier that can get me capacitors next day delivery. It just costs me a lot more. I'd rather not have to go down that path, because the company that I use, it's free delivery, whereas the company that can get me these caps next day, it's not free delivery. And the company that I buy them from, they do have next day delivery, but only on stuff that they carry as local stock. And despite the fact that they did actually used to carry these capacitors as local stock, they don't anymore. For some unknown reason, they now have to get the stuff brought over from overseas. It usually takes about 5 days. It takes about 5 Earth days. Yeah, for your science fiction fans out there. Okay. Just tinning this copper here. Once I expose copper, I need to do one of 2 things. I either need to tin it like this, or I need to paint some UV solder mask on it, because otherwise it will corrode, which we do not want. How are we doing here with viewers at the moment? I've got 26 at the moment. That's not too bad for a completely unannounced impromptu live stream. I'm pretty pleased with that. And I thank everyone who has watched. Please feel free to smash that like button. Okie dokie. So what caps were originally on that board? The silkscreen markings don't look like electrolytic cap markings. No, this is actually something that I was just discussing early on. Because I do realise that people join this stream at different times, so I do sometimes have to repeat myself. So the people who have heard me say this before, my apologies, but this is something that I think is worthy of talking about. The Mac II, when it very first came out, the very first one, there are 2 different versions of the Mac II board. When it very first came out, it had all, well, not all, but all of these caps were axial electrolytic capacitors. They're in slightly different positions as well. Then they brought out a Revision B board. Now, the Revision B board, things are in slightly different places, and all of these pads are set up so that they can have either surface mount electrolytic or axial. So you can see we've got little holes on either side here for the axials to go in, and then we've got the pads in the middle for the surface mount. Now, these had almost all surface mounts. There are a handful of axial capacitors on there. Now, as to why they went down that path, I expect it probably had to do with you know, manufacturing and with costs associated with manufacturing on parts and stuff like that. Because one of the important things with surface mount components, it's different now, but at the time, I could be wrong with this, but at the time, surface mount components can be put on by a machine, and then they go through a solder bath and get attached on there. So it means you can speed up the manufacture of your device. Whereas I believe at the time, if you had through-hole stuff, they had to be soldered by a person, which of course slows things down, increased costs. So, you know, they were definitely moving towards the surface mount side of things instead of having these through-hole axial capacitors. But yeah, so this was a board that was designed to take either. I mean, I could be replacing all of these with axial caps if I wanted. It would still work. It's all made that way. But yeah, so they had these rather unusual pads where you have the two pads on either side, and then you've got the two vias as well, so you can stick an axial. And it actually does make this a pretty easy board to recap. If we put all of the repair stuff aside for a minute, the caps are all fairly well spaced away from each other. There's nothing right on top of it. You got all this room around the outside, so it's actually a pretty easy board to recap. I mean, I would obviously recommend to anyone who is planning to recap a Mac 2, you know, maybe let's not be your very first recapping, because they're pretty rare these days. The fact that I actually picked one up a few weeks ago, I'm absolutely ecstatic about. People who watch my streams will know that I have talked about this before. I've been looking for a Mac 2 for a long time because I used to own one and I got rid of it, and I regret getting rid of it, and I really wanted to have one again. So I had an opportunity to get one, had no idea if it was working, solders untested, doesn't even have a power supply in it, unfortunately, so I have to either get hold of another power supply or make my own. And this was the thing that was the real clincher. This is the thing that when I brought it home, I did a little dance. It had an 040 accelerator in it, so that for me is just, so not only am I going to get a Mac 2 up and running, but I'm going to get a Mac 2 with an 040 upgrade in it. The Radius, what was it called? Radius Rocket. Yeah. Radial's most likely, okay, here it comes, right? What caps were originally on it? Yep. Okay. So the silk screen, yeah. Okay, I've answered that, haven't I? Yes. That's all been answered. Very long-winded by me. Mr. Fahrenheit, hello and welcome. My name's Mr. Celsius. Right. Okay. Well, Siri thought I was talking to her. Really interesting thing. If you have an ultrasonic cleaner and you have a watch with that person on it, Siri. When the ultrasonic goes off, the high frequency just sets it off. It's just constantly saying, you know, what can I help you with? What can I help you with? Over and over and over again. Crazy. Okay. I just got to check this and see how many I've done, because I don't feel like I've done 13, so I must have some floating around here somewhere. Let me just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The time just flew by. I've already done 13. Fantastic. Now, I've got a few axials. Hot Rod, hello. Welcome to the stream. Let's grab the axials. I need a 220/16. Where's the axials? Where are they? Hey? They're around somewhere because I used them just recently. No, they're not inside. There we are. They're right there. It's staring at me. Oh, it's making a squealing noise. I think it might be that little Wi-Fi switch thingy. Ouch. Okay, so we need a 220/16. I generally, when I'm putting these on, I generally go up a step. So I'm going to go 220/25 volts instead of 16, and we've got 3 470/16. So 470/25, 3 of them. There we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. There's my axials. And let's now switch back here. Right. Sorry, everyone's staring at that new bus slot. It's a little bit boring. This is one of the things that I absolutely love about this board. I love about the Mac II. Something from a historical perspective. You think of Apple, right? You think of Apple in sort of the early 90s or whenever it was, or late 80s, so I should say, and they've basically just been releasing compact Macs. They finally then get into this idea of a modular Mac, a Mac that you can go in and upgrade and service yourself and open them up and all that sort of stuff. And this thing here, look at it. Six new bus slots. That's hardcore. 8 RAM slots. It was, when you consider this was their first venture into an upgradable Mac, they went hard. I mean, this is good stuff. You've got, was it 2 floppy drive sockets, I think? Wherever they are. Where are they? Can't find them anywhere. They do have floppy drive sockets, don't they? Oh, there they are. They're right staring at me. So you've got 2 floppy drive slots there. You've got your SCSI. As I say, I think these were like, as I say, for a first venture into modular Macs, I think they're absolutely amazing. So now we've got our, let's go for a side view today. There we go. You can see the fat gut. And we'll get, can I zoom in a little bit if I can find my remote control, which is under here. Clean your desk, Bruce, they said. I did. Someone messed it up again. All right. It gets a little bit messy when I'm working on projects like I was working on that Ultrasonic yesterday. So, yeah. Right, so I think this one goes up here. I think it's C2. I will just check that. Well, I didn't bring a printout, so I'm checking this on the web constantly. Visual Paint. Oh, we're up to 30 viewers. Way. 22025. That one goes there. Yeah, it was where I thought it was, but I just wanted to be sure. So we need to put this right here. Pluses that way. As say, electrolytics, they have the arrow pointing to the minus. Whoopsie. Whenever I'm putting these caps on, I always try and keep the numbers visible so that you can observe what caps are on these without having to take them off. That's one of my pet peeves. Anytime sort of I'm working on an old power supply or something like that, and I need to go and check what capacitors are on there, and then I have to, I have to take the capacitor off to read the writing on it. It just annoys me. So I want to be nice to the next person who comes along and sees what it is. So, oopsie. Smash that like button. Yes, please, everyone. Please smash that like button. And, or the not like, because I've got my little buddies. I don't know who it is, but someone likes to jump onto my live streams and press the thumbs down button. And I say, good on your dedication. Because I tell you what, they've been doing it for a while now. They don't always do it. They don't turn up to every single one of my streams, but they certainly do turn up to a few. And I don't know what I necessarily did to annoy them. Oh, except that there's one person. I think I know what I did to annoy them. But I would do it again. No regrets there. So let's get that. How could you dislike a Bruce stream? How indeed? How indeed? I mean, come on. Okay. So I'm just soldering this from both sides because apparently that bothers some people watching. Oopsie. Right, so that's that one. Then we've got our 470s to put on. Incidentally, I've whipped off all the CPUs on this. The CPU, the PMMU, and the FPU. There's a whole bunch of letters for you. So that's Central Processing Unit, Page Memory Management Unit, and Floating Point Unit. So I've taken those all off. They're socketed. I take them off to clean them. So that way, when the cleaner's doing its cleaning, it's cleaning all the little holes in the socket as well. So that's the main reason why I did it. It is. Now, I've got to make sure I don't accidentally stick these to the battery holders, because that's not the way it's meant to be. I have to put new battery holders on this. Moving forward, we want batteries on this for the future. For the future. Right. Oh, wow. Jeez, I was wondering why the screen went blank all of a sudden. It's because I put my great big fat hand in the way. Quick question to anyone out there. Does anyone out there in the chat have an Apple Watch? Just curious. Oops. Whoops. Whoops. Okay, Crazy Tech Reviews, you've got an Apple Watch. So, just curious question. Have you started using Clockology for custom watch faces? It's something I've only just discovered quite recently, and I've got to say I'm wrapped, because there are some old vintage watches I really like. I have my watch face now set up as an old Casio watch, which I really like. Series 5, cool bananas. Yes, I want a Series 5 one day, but to be honest, I've got a Series 3, and it still does everything that I want. It's still way too good. Maybe when the battery stops working, or maybe when something breaks down, or I don't know, I'll get another one. But to be honest, the old Series 3 that I'm using, I've just been so happy with it. I just don't really need to get another one. Needs got nothing to do with it. Okay. Crashology. For some reason, Clockology doesn't work too well for Jay. And we've already established that his house is haunted, and it's messing up his microscope, so it's probably messing up Clockology on his phone as well. So, nope, how does it work? Okay, so Clockology is an app that you install on your phone, which then also gets installed on your watch. And when you are running the app, it displays a clock face. So you're kind of bypassing the actual clock face. So and then you just set the phone so that you set the watch so that any time it launches with whatever the last app was. So each time I look at it, it's the Clockology app running. So I'm actually, every time I look at it, I'm actually opening an app rather than just looking at the clock face. Yeah, I quite like it. It's nice, yes. It's very good. That way, that way, that way. That way. Okay. There's that cap. I've got to make sure I get these right. I've done this before. Sometimes when I'm doing these axial caps, and I get so caught up in the whole bending these pins so they look nice and everything, I end up putting the friggin' cap on around the wrong way. And I don't want to do that, because it has to be undone. Right, so these are the last two caps on this, by the way. So then we just move on to the trace repair, and then we'll be ready for a bit of testing. Want that to be fun? Yes. This is the board from the other day. Yes, I have cleaned it. If I haven't said to you already, divisions. Yes, it is I say hello to you. Yes, okay. So, and this is the bath system here. Now, I am actually going to be doing. Is it here? I'm going to be doing a video on the construction of this. This is something that I made ultimately from scratch. I mean, I didn't fashion these with a lathe or something like that. I bought these as ready-built things. So ultimately, it's two. I bought the kit comes with one power supply, which powers two transducers. So I bought 8 transducers and 4 power supplies, and they're all running down here. I've got the 4 power supplies down here, and then the transducers up there. And yeah, but as I won't go too much into it because I already have at the beginning of this stream, and I am planning a video specifically on this subject and the making of that. You can buy an off-the-shelf one. I have one there, but it's a good size for some of the smaller boards, but not for some of these whopping great boards like these ones. These boards are a bit of a pain. Whoopsie. Whoopsie. It won't be long before I start getting complaints. Why can't we see what you're doing? When I started a business, when I was, what was I? I would have been about 20, something like that. And I needed to get a computer for that business. And that was when I first bought my own Mac, and that was a Mac II. I had used Macs plenty of times. I'd been using them professionally, and my parents had a Mac, so I was well and truly exposed to Macs. I had been using them for a long time. But this was the first time I bought a Mac with my own money. It was a Mac II. And yeah, I mean, I can't remember what I paid for it. I mean, it was still quite expensive because when I bought it in it was 91 or 92 or something like that. It would have only been, what is that, sort of 3 years old, something like that. So it was still quite expensive, but a hell of a lot cheaper than buying it new. Have fun, guys. Thank you for joining, Leo. Thank you for the time that you spent here. Enjoy whatever the rest of the day, night, whatever has in store for you. I assume when you say drop, you probably mean go to sleep, which is fair enough. Sweet dreams. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fix up the traces that I know are gone. And I might end up having to fix up some more later on. But I'm going to just fix the ones that I absolutely know are stuffed. And then we'll do a test. So we've obviously got a cracker here. Look at this guy. Actually, let me have a look at that. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Look at this crooked component here, huh? Huh? Crooked transistor. Who do they think they are? Passing off substandard work like that. Right. Now, when I'm choosing a wire for a trace repair, I want something as thin as possible, but at the same time, I want it to be thick enough that it's easy to work with and that it is going to conduct the amount of electricity required. Beta file, what do you do with it now? So, the enable beta file, it's once you end up in the watch app, I think there's an option to synchronize it or something. You press and hold down on it or something like that, and there's an option there to sync with watch. And the watch will ask you if that's what you want to do. And then from that point on, you can then start adding whatever faces you want. I mean, I did the enable beta thingy, and then I didn't like the faces on that one, so I got rid of them. And you know, there's some nice ones that look like Rolexes and stuff, so you can feel a little super fancy. I might actually do a video on it because it's way more complicated than it needs to be. I have to download it onto my iPhone then. Yes, that's right. So ultimately, Clockology is driven by the phone. The phone is the one that does all of the heavy lifting and then just sends it to your watch. So, I might be better off... Okay, let me just check the thickness of this wire. I think this wire is okay. It's perhaps a little bit thick. I could probably go with something thinner, but I think it'll do. What do you think? This thickness? It's the same width as the trace, so I think that's all right. Let's get some flux on here. What is your opinion regarding the use of higher voltage connectors from LCD caps to replace logic board electrolytic caps? Sorry, from the sound portion ones. So, multi-layer ceramics are non-polar. And I am not an electronics expert. I am not an electronics technician or anything like that. I am ultimately a programmer that does this as a side job for a bit of fun. That's not to say that I don't have a reasonable understanding of what I'm doing, but I am definitely not an expert on it. But I have been told by people you should not replace polarized capacitors with non-polarized capacitors. And multi-layer ceramic capacitors are non-polarized. So what my recommendation would be to not do it. Now, I do know people who have done it, and the devices have worked. So, you know, it's hard to argue with that if that's the case. They've seen it done, and it's like the computer fires up and away you go. But, as I say, I go based on the recommendations of people that I've heard, and they've said to not use non-polarized caps to do a polarized cap job. If there's an electronics technician out there somewhere, I'm sure they will be able to explain why. But that's, as I say, that's just what I've heard. All right, time. Oh, geez, I think these might be the tweezers I stepped on. What do you reckon? These are more like scissors now. Okay, so I won't be using those, at least not until I fix them. I'm a bit cheap with my tweezers. I repair them rather than buying new ones. Oh, they're the crappy ones. What about these ones? These meet in the middle? These meet in the middle enough. Right, so let's get this little bit of wire. Let's pop them here. Melting the enamel off the wire. And soldering it to the trace underneath. So that has now been soldered onto there. Now we now have to run this a long way. Okay, so yeah, so I mean, I would go with tantalums. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you've got a huge supply of ceramic caps there or something like that. But yeah, I would go with tantalums or electrolytic. I mean, you know, I know we're saying, oh, we're replacing electrolytic because they leak, but they only leak after like 20, 30 years or something. So, you know, you've got to ask yourself, you know, I mean, you could probably be fine just replacing them with electrolytics. Right. Yep. Okay. Now, there we go. Okay. Might do a few more little blobs along here just to hold this down. Now this, of course, once I've finished and this has been cleaned, I will be putting UV solder mask all over this to protect it, make sure it doesn't fall off. But the main thing we need to do at this stage is we've just got to run it all the way up here. So, okay. Well, I mean, to some extent with the solder ball, I was looking for something like that because I was pretty sure there would be something. I mean, I didn't know necessarily it was going to be a solder ball, and I'll tell you why. Recapping doesn't always fix things. We know that. You know, you might get a computer that's not working on eBay or something like that, and you come home and you try it, it's not working, and everyone says, "Oh, recap it," and you recap it, and it still doesn't work. That happens because obviously it may not have even worked before the capacitors failed. You know, I mean, there were a lot of computers that didn't work out there, and so, you know, recapping doesn't always solve the problem. But if you have a computer that worked, then you recap it and it doesn't work, you know it's something that's been done during the recapping process. Knocked off a component, got a solder ball somewhere, hot air has maybe pushed some solder out from some of the joints and they're not making proper contact anymore. You've accidentally created a short when you put the new component on. You put a component on backwards. You know, it happens, and it's not like some huge sort of issue with your work or anything like that. Those things just happen, and you know, you just have to go and look for them and deal with it. Now, I might be going a little bit overboard here with how neat I'm doing this. I'm not doing it to make people feel bad or anything like that. I just kind of like doing it this way. So I'm trying to get this to follow the original contour of what was there before. And again, that's, you know, just me being pedantic and silly. But it's nice to make it all look good, eh? Don't you reckon? There we go. Oh. This is the worst broken trace on this. And yes, I do know that I've created a big solder blob over here. I will clean that up. I didn't like the idea. Yeah, isn't that funny that someone would do a kit like that? Well, I guess at the end of the day, anyone can make a kit, can't they? I'm actually planning to do some kits myself, and I will put the components in there that I use in that kit. You know, I mean, someone might look at that and go, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe he's used tantalum," or something like that. But yeah, I mean, as I say, anyone can make a kit. I didn't get that soldered on. What a fluff! What a fluff! Okay, let's get these soldered on there. There we go. He's on there now. Excuse me. So I've been hearing some rather horrendous stuff coming out of some parts of the US with this, what is it, Hurricane Laura or something like that? I think that's the one. Nasty stuff, I tell you. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Every now and again, nature likes to give you a little reminder, doesn't it? Sorry, something funny happened. Which you can't see. Okay, we're nearly done. And then we'll do a little test to make sure that we've got continuity here. Okay, so I think I'll just check this and make sure it's not broken anywhere else. Okay, is that broken there as well? Oh, this is just the trace from hell, this one. Got it working. Awesome. That is great to hear, GT. So now you can go out and enjoy all of the different clock faces that are available. As I said, my recommendation is to jump onto a Facebook group called Clockology. And they have lots of people sharing faces that they make. Oh, God, that's shocking there as well. Is this the same one, yeah? It is. It's the same one. This trace is going to wind its way across the whole friggin' board. Sorry about this, folks. This is taking a while, but as you can see, I have this rather ridiculous, fastidious nature with the way I like to do these. Let's see, microsurgery. Yes, I'm actually in a relatively good place for weather events and stuff like that, in terms of we don't get anything particularly major here. Occasional flooding. We don't really get earthquakes. We don't really get hurricanes or tornadoes or anything like that. Cyclones. Not in this part of the country. We get bushfires, of course. I'm sure that all gets out there. Actually, I've got a notification just the other day that they're going to be doing hazard reduction burns this weekend. So our yard is probably going to start smelling like smoke tomorrow. Won't that be fun? But it's kind of a necessity in the lead up to summer around here. Okay. Thank you to everyone who has persevered while I do this rather stupid meticulous trace repair. God, is it still going? It is. It's still the same one. I really should just run a wire from one end of the board to the other, shouldn't I? Okay, so I can stop. Well, that's all right. That's going to still have continuity there. But I think I will run it to about here. Just maybe this spot there. So, far out, man. Sorry, guys. How dull. Would I want a photo of an LC520 board for your site? I think I have one. I could be wrong. I'd need to double check. I have definitely recapped one, so I probably do have a photo. I just haven't got around to putting it up there yet. 520, of course, is the same actual board as a Color Classic 2. They've even got the same code on them. Maybe slightly different ROMs or something, so that it identifies itself as one or the other. They're virtually the same. Come on, you little thing. See, always try not to swear in my streams. Okay. So yes, thank you for the offer, but I'm pretty sure I have. Oh, what do I got? Hey, I'm pretty sure I have a 520 already. I've certainly recapped a couple. I actually had someone turn up here once with a classic. They said, "Oh, I want to get it recapped or something." You know, it had battery leakage. It couldn't be repaired, unfortunately, but well, I'm sure it could. But you know, there's a time investment, and you've got to weigh up whether it's worth it. But you know, this guy said, "Oh, you know, I just bought this Color Classic on eBay. You know, I don't know if it's going to be able to be fixed or whatever." Well, we opened it up and found a 520 board inside. So someone had done their own little Color Classic 2 upgrade to the thing. Unfortunately, as I say, the board was beyond repair in that instance. I know this feels like it's going on forever, but we are getting there. I mean, look at how far we've gone. Whee, it's snaked its way across the board here. Woo, woo. There we go. All right. I'm actually hoping to get a little bit of time to sit down and play around with some of my vintage Macs. I've been doing so much of this, I haven't had time to actually go in and just muck around with them, which I like to do. You know, fire up a game here and there. I've recently been playing with a G3 mini tower. So I not only never owned one of those before, never even used one. We didn't have much in the way of the beige G3s where I worked. We went pretty much from 604s, and we were using clones at the time. We went pretty much from 604s to the colourful ones. So we didn't really do any of the beige G3s, say, at the company I worked at. So seeing this, you know, G3 mini tower, it's been a totally new experience for me. And I have to say, I like it. It's a lovely, big, imposing machine. It's fancy. There we go. We're so close, guys. We're so close. We're just going to go to, well, I'll go to here just to be safe. I've only got a couple more blobs of solder to do. And then we can say, hey, that's number one trace wear. But keep in mind that that's the biggest trace repair I have to do on this board. So the others shouldn't be as time consuming as this one. You know, one of the reasons why I do this fancy stuff with the way I actually bend them to actually run along the same line as the original trace. One of the main reasons why I do that is so that when the person gets it back, they look at it and they think, "Oh crikey, I never could have done that myself. Geez, I'm glad I paid someone to do it." Because you know you can't do that sort of stuff unless you got a microscope. You just couldn't. What I'm doing at the moment, you just couldn't do with the naked eye. Well, certainly not my naked eyes. My naked eyes are very naked. I used to be able to see great. Don't see too good now. Yeah, let's get one in there. See me making all sorts of lovely bridges here that I don't want to create. That's where the flux comes in. Flux rules. Right. Make them think you're a miracle worker. Yeah, that's right. That was from the episode where he did a comeback in Next Generation, wasn't it? I think from memory. Whoopsie. There we go. Right, so there is our first trace repair that runs from here all the way across the board, along here, along here, along here, along here, along here, along here, along here. That is one hell of a trace repair. That is long as. It's got to be one of the longest I've ever done. It'll look a lot nicer when it's got some UV mask on it. I can, of course, just get my old beepity beep beep machine and do a little bit of a beepity beep beep check. It's always not a bad idea to make sure that your work is good or satisfactory, or at the very least functional. So let's start Hoya, and we'll go to. It's a long way away. This there to yeah. Yep, works. I enjoyed that episode actually, even though Scotty didn't act particularly well in it, you know. But that's because what's his name, Jimmy Dillon. Yeah. I don't think it was his finest acting performance, but that's okay. I mean, we're talking about Star Trek here, aren't we? Alright, so this one here is just a nice simple one, just from there to there. I don't think I need to go any further. There's enough copper in. To be honest, that one might even be good enough there, but you know, I may as well bridge that horrible bit of yuckiness there. So let's start off with some flux, and we'll get that tinned. Because if you've already got some, you know, got the solder on there, it will take solder, more solder you add to it, much easier. So let's get some wick. This is the method I use to tin traces. I get a bit of solder on the end of my iron. I get a bit of wick, and I do this gentle rubbage like that. That way you're just getting a thin layer without getting blobs on there or anything like that. Did I cuss? What did I say? You sure I didn't just use a funny little word instead of a real swear? Did I use a real swear? Oh, crap. Yeah. I may well lose my concentration. Uh-oh, monetization's gone. Losing all my advertisers. Because I swore. No, I don't recall. Can't have been that bad, I swear. I swear all the time in real life. Constantly. Go on, melt, you sucker. Come on. Thank you. I'll come back to that. It's just once you get one part of the wire down, it makes it really, really easy to get the rest down, or a lot easier to get the rest down. So if you can just get one bit down, then you can work on the next bit, and then you can go back and clean up that first part. Well, Mr. Fahrenheit, thank you very much for that $2. You get to ask me a question for that. You've just paid to ask me a question. There you go. You asked me $2 worth of question. I might come up to here. What do you reckon? That's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. That's a long ass trace. Oh, well, that's, yeah, is that a swear? Ass? I mean, A-double-S, it's ass, it's a donkey. That's not really a swear. Right, so let's get this stuck. Oh, crap. I scraped the wrong trace. What kind of moron am I? Don't answer that. Okay. Demonetized. I'm currently sitting on around about 3,500 subs, I think, at the moment, which is something I didn't think was ever achievable. So I'd like to just say thank you to everyone who has subscribed. It's more than I ever expected. I was, and I'm sort of, I'm getting about 1,000 subs a month at the moment. And once again, that's way more than I ever thought possible. So thank you for the people who do like watching this inane stuff. And of course, the other thing is, this is one of the really, really important things for anyone who's never live streamed before. Oh, craps. Now that was a swear. For anyone who's never live streamed before, when you're doing work like this and you're live streaming, it's like you have a little bit of company while you're doing it. So it's kind of nice. There we go. This wire is a lot thicker, which means it's a lot harder to get that enamel off. I should probably take the enamel off, you know, before I put this on, or use a non-enameled wire. Again, these are all things for a cleverer person than I am. But we'll get there in the end. All that matters. And then we'll just clean this one up here, get a little bit of flux on there. Oh, this is the wrong flux, isn't it? This is my funky stuff. This is the... yeah, come out, you thing, you. Don't like looking at that joint. I want some proper flux. Some grade A flux. There we go. When's your Lisa video coming out? Yeah, that's a good question. So I'll tell you what the biggest issue I have at the moment is. I go around and I record content. So I record, you know, me doing whatever I'm doing. You know, whether I'm down here in the shed or whether I'm sort of up in the house or whatever like that. I'm recording me doing stuff. Oh, I said that again. I'm going to get in trouble with the copyright people from Dana Does Stuff. Anyhow, so I, you know, I film that. But whenever I do a video, I like to have a bit of an intro and an outro. I like to have me introducing myself at the beginning, talking about what the video is going to be about, and then, you know, sort of, and then the, you know, having the, you know, a little bit of an outro where I just do a bit of a summary. And when I do those videos, I have to set up the lights, and I've got to write a script, and I've got to get out the teleprompter and the whole thing, and it's a bit more of a production to do those. And the whole idea is I was going to just spend one day doing a whole stack of intros and outros, but because they take time, because I've got to write them, I've actually got to write all the words that I'm going to use. And so that's kind of why these things haven't happened, because I've been finding myself down here recapping every single freaking spare minute I have. And so I haven't been up doing these, you know, pre-recorded things. And of course, the other thing is I do have a day job as well. So, which, you know, like for instance, I should be doing right now. Just going to add a little bit of solder there to hold that still. I'm feeling like I might even give this a test now, you know. There's a lot of these other traces don't look that bad. Okay. Frickin'. Is frickin' a swear word? I don't think it is. I can make it one. It's one of the things I used to love about Red Dwarf. I don't know how many people are Red Dwarf viewers out there. But I love the fact that that was a show that was, you know, it was very much a PG show. I mean, it wasn't really rude or anything like that. So what they did is, it was because it was set in the future, similar to Battlestar Galactica did that as well. You know, where they made up their own swear words, so they could swear essentially in the world they created, but they're not really swearing in our world. So, like in Red Dwarf, the word they used was smeg, and in Battlestar Galactica, what was it? Fracking, I think. I only watched like half the first series. That I didn't stick with it. Too much weird stuff happened, and I was getting bored with it. But if I remember, they had a word that they used to use. Yeah, frack off. That was it. And I think that's really clever. If you're doing sci-fi and you're creating this world, you can create the most offensive word you want that's not offensive to us. It's a very good way of getting around that, in my opinion. Because they were all, in Battlestar Galactica, they were all meant to be like military. We're going to believe that those people don't swear? I mean, come on. Okay, so, as we can see, lots of little spots and specks and stuff around here. But with all of these, I can generally get a feel, just from my years and years of experience, that when I look at these traces, I know they're still going to actually carry electricity. So these all need to be coated afterwards, either with solder or with UV mask, but ultimately they're all looking pretty good. So, shall we give it a try? Oops, I've lost my quick keys again. I don't know why my quick keys go away sometimes, but they do. Well, that's blank. There we go. So, I mean, this may be a little bit reckless of me, just testing this out now, but you know, it's me. It's me. I need a speaker because I need to hear it go bing. This is the wrong speaker, but it should still make a noise. It goes there. Going to need some CPUs and MMUs and PMMUs and FPUs and U's. Yeah, Firefly, they cursed in Chinese and got away with it. Yeah, but I mean, what's his name? Joss Whedon's such a clever person. Yeah, I love that. I love the way they did that. I love the fact that they lived in a future where everyone spoke, you know, they spoke English and Chinese, and they swore in Chinese. Okay, I wonder if I can remember which one's this. 68020, there we go. So, I know I've talked about this before. We're going to have a little pop quiz here for the folks who are watching the live stream at the moment. How many have we got here at the moment? Got here 33 viewers at the moment, so hello to everyone. Mac 2, Motorola 68020 CPU. What was the only other Mac released that used a 68020 CPU? Let's just check these pins. I can hear Bernie. Hello, Bernie. Mac LC. That is correct. Well done. Oh, got a vent pin. That's why it's not going in. Always check for bent pins before you put these things in, I'm telling you. I had one where I had a bent pin and I pushed it in. As I pushed it in, I bent it even more. Oopsie. Doo-doo-doo. 6881. Come on, get in there. And this is a weird one. That's the dot goes that way. Oh yeah, there we go. Nate, hello. I am very well. How are you? Right. Okay. I don't have any RAM in this yet. I can put some RAM in it, but for the moment I just want to test to see if it makes any sorts of noises or sad Mac chimes. You may notice that I haven't got any batteries on this. Now, typically that would not allow me to start it up with the proper power supply, but I'm not going to start it up with the proper power supply. I'm going to start it up with my dodgy one. Is this it? Nope. Is that it? Nope. Where's my power supply? Come on, own up. Own up, and no one will get hurt. one of them. Is this the Mac 2 or that's the 2CI one? So I make up these power supplies for this very specific reason. I make up these power supplies out of ATX power supplies. Now, the reason why I do that is because these are ones that bypass the startup circuit. So if they start up with these, then I know that the computer works ultimately. If I can't get them to start up with the main power supply, it's either the main power supply is dead or it's the startup circuit is damaged. And then then all you have to do is look into the startup circuit. And that's all this jiggery pokery down here. So, right. So here's my ATX power supply. Let's shimmy along here. Oh, House of Moth, thank you very much for your super chat there. Everything you do and say annoys me, but here's some money anyway. That's awesome. Thank you. Always appreciate that. Is he the one? Are you the one that's doing the thumbs down, Jay? Own up. Own up. I just realised I'm going to have to do a repair to this power supply. When I first put this together, this power supply, I didn't have the right crimping tool for these pins, these little Molex guys. The correct crimper is something that looks something like this. They're not particularly cheap. You can buy really cheap ones and you get what you pay for. They're rubbish. Spend a little bit of money. Don't spend ridiculous amounts. There are companies selling these for hundreds of dollars. That's just stupid. But don't just buy a really dirt cheap one. Get one that's half decent. Don't ask me which half. Okay. Right. Is that one? Yep, that looks like it. So you just need to have stacks of these around, these Molex plugs and that. So I'm just going to do a quick little crimp here because this wire just came unstuck and I'm going to need my goggles for that because, as I said, I don't see too good. Surviving the California heat. Oh, yeah. You've got bushfires over there as well, haven't you, I think? Right. Oh, Mac84. Steve, hello. Welcome to the stream. How was the movie? You were watching a movie, weren't you? Come on, smash that like button, people. Okay, yep, so you got it. You have to like it, otherwise there'll be trouble. Hunt you down. Right, so I'm going to just crimp one of these. I generally like to trim these things sometimes because I find they're often a little bit long. Boing. Boing. Trim. Trim. You're making me look a fool. Thank you. Then I get the wire. And I put them through there. It's easier if you get the crimping tool first. And you get it ready to crimp like that, and then feed the wire through. This wire looks like bad. Okay. Once you do have one of these proper crimping tools, it just makes life so much easier when you're working with these sorts of plugs. Come on. Man. Oh, freaking fell off, man. I might just strip a little bit more of this wire. Because this one has already been squished once. I could just go down and grab that one that I just dropped, but anyone who's watched my live streams before will know the noise that I make when I pick things up off the floor. I'm going to spare you guys from that. Okay. Let's, yep. Come on, let's go. This is the thing that sucks is when they get stuck in there. There we go. Right. Shrink. There we go. Crimp to last the ages. Alright, now we can feed this back in. Of course, more will probably fall out, but let's just hope they don't fall out right now. Okay, so let's connect this up. I've got little markings on here to remind me which way around this goes. So that goes there to pin 1. That goes to pin 12. And then I've got this little dude here. Like that. Alright. So we're now connected up. I need to get some of this delicious AC power. Now this one doesn't have a power switch on it, so I think the moment I plug this in it'll power up, so we'll just see what happens. I heard a pop. And what I'm hoping for is like a sad Mac chime, because I don't have any RAM on it. But I got a pop. Pop. Okay, nothing. I can stick some RAM in it. I mean, I don't think it's going to make any difference, but this has ROM in it, doesn't it? I don't need a ROM sim in this, do I? No. This that way. It's that way. It's all good. Just always like to check things. I would not be at all surprised if there are more traces causing problems. What have I got here? I've got a few ones here floating around. They're composite ones. I'm not sure if it likes composite RAM. The old ones. I might see if we can find some other RAM. Yeah, I've got some over here. Gotta have lots of RAM. Gotta always keep lots of RAM on standby. How were all the little trace repairs? Well, I only did 2. Which is probably a little bit, there's probably more than 2 that need to be done. But I looked at the ones that were the worst and I thought, you know what, we'll just do a test. And then we'll see. This is my stash of 1 megabyte sims. It's a lot smaller than it used to be because I have people that send me repair stuff and they go, oh, have you got any 1 meg? And I go, yeah, I got a couple. I'll give you some. And I've just been slowly running out. You can buy it. Okay, so I'm just looking to see if I can find 4 that I might have that might be the same or at least reasonably close. They're a matching pair. These look like they're a matching pair. That's one of those. They're a matching pair. They're a matching pair. Why do I have 3 the same? That's just stupid. Okay. Right, so that's 100. That's 80. That's 70. 80. So, alright, I'll stick 100s and 80s in there, eh? Okay. Right, so we've got bank A here, and we've got bank B here. I'm going to stick 4 in. You have to stick 4 in each bank. I can actually keep. That's right, this is the one where these are really mega brittle. So yeah, you can leave a bank blank. If you're going to only have 1 bank populated, you need to have bank A populated. And you need to have matching sims in each of the banks. So let's try that again with some RAM in it. And once again, we get the stunning sounds of silence. It's got a hiss. Definitely got a hiss happening. So there's definitely power coming through to it. If there was a power light. Is there a power light? No, that's right. The power light's on the power supply, isn't it? Let's just check and see if we're getting any power out of the hard drive thingamajig. No power light on the board yet. So let's just check here. We'll just 12 volts. 5 volts. Okay, so we're getting power through the thing. That's all good. I mean, considering it's coming from there, it's not surprising, but that's something. I could, of course, go around and test other areas here, but to be honest, I think the best plan of attack at this stage is just a little bit more inspection, because as I said, there are still quite a few bad traces on this, and I really only fixed up one or two. So I need to stop being so shortcutty. Right, so let's go and have another close look, shall we? That's the next step. Get my 1 meg sims, put them away. That's not mine. Where am I? Where did I put mine? Had a bag. How do I lose it that quickly? I mean, right, okay, I'm not going to bother about it now. I'll do it later. Right, so let's have a quick look here. Okay, alright. How's the Mac 2? The Mac 2 has had a nice, neat little trace repair, but it's still not working. Which you'd be very familiar with that feeling, Steve. Now, this has already been ultrasonically cleaned at some stage, so I'm not too worried about gunk. So let's just have a look then. Oh yeah. So now this does have some really bad stuff going on in between all of these new bus slots. Once again, I do believe they are still delivering electricity where it needs to go. There is an area that I'm sure I looked at before, which probably has some broken traces on it, so we'll have a look at that in a moment. Once again, and Steve, you'll be very familiar with this, with these. When you get these little black dots, you get very good at identifying which of the black dots are just going to be on the surface and which of the black dots are going to be giving you all sorts of grief. Now, there's this thing here, which is similar to what in the olden days would have, in the modern days would be like a JTAG. And this is, for testing purposes, they could connect up to that. So I'm not even remotely concerned about what these traces are doing, heading out to these, because they're not needed. They're just not needed. Let's do this. So I think it was up here there was some other than this. Yeah, see, look at that. Yeah, I don't go look for some of that around there. That's okay. Might just whip this little guy off so I can clean up around it a bit. So let's whip him off. This is Mr. UB2. UB2 and RB3. These sorts of components, like this one that I've got here, most of these are still readily available. You can just buy these from DigiKey or Mouser or someone like that, which is great if any of them get damaged or you get any pins busted off or anything like that. You can just get replacements. So my power switch on mine has got, well, the only thing is that I'm actually powering this up without the need of the power switch. So I'm actually completely and totally bypassing. Switch cameras. I'm completely and totally bypassing the startup circuit entirely. So, and I do that obviously to just take that out of the equation to start off with. So let's just do some cleaning around here and see what we can keep and what we need to potentially repair or replace. It's using my cheap flux. Well, it's not cheap. I mean, it was cheap. It was free, but it is expensive if you buy it. Okay, let's get some rubbing and rolling and rolling and rubbing here. Yes, I don't like the look of that trace. Look at that one. Ugly eyes. Okay. God, the bird noises out there. What about it? It's noisy, isn't it? Yes, thank you, Steve, for sending me that little message to remind me that I wasn't actually showing you guys the microscope view. Anyone would think I've never streamed before. If you get a chance to go back and have a look at the beginning of the stream, please do. It's quite funny, because I started actually streaming before realising that I was streaming. I'm glad I didn't pick my nose or something. It's because I didn't schedule it. I'm so used to scheduling streams. Once I started, it just started going. I was like, what? What's happening? What's happening? so once I've done all this scrapey, I will then go in and tin this stuff, and then I will check to see what's broken. And generally I'll know what's broken because it'll still be black and it won't be all nice and shiny. And of course doing this can actually restore breaks as well. The solder can just help bridge a tiny little gap. But I definitely think we've got a break over here. Let's scrape that away too. Scrapey. I really do hope I get this this one working. I would hate to think that I don't get this one working, but I definitely get a sense of satisfaction with these really old ones. You know, when you get an old Mac like this working, you're sort of like, yay! That's another one. Gonna make someone happy. Here's my toothbrush. As I mentioned before in my live streams, this is not the same toothbrush I use to clean my teeth. Right. Where's my beepity beep beep machine? I moved it. There it is. I'll put this on beepity beep beep mode. If I can do it, you can too. That's the words of encouragement I wanted to hear, Steve. Beep. Okay. Ba-bow. Ba-bow. Okay, so we definitely got a break in here. That's good. It fills me with joy when I find breaks on things that don't work, because then there's that moment, there's that feeling of, ooh, have I fixed it? Have I fixed it? Okay, fair enough. I'm just going to assume your brother is of an adolescent age. I'm assuming your brother isn't like a grown-up adult and doing that crazy tech reviews. Right, so I'm going to put the component on first, and then I'm going to work around it. I just think it'll be easier to work that way. Is this the component here? Why am I asking you? There we go. It's the same as the one next to it. Right. 11. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's understandable. Right. So when I'm soldering on components like this, I get them into a position as best as I can. I then pin down, solder one pin. That's my tap. And then solder another pin on the other side. That's up a bit. Hang on. I'm just drag soldering it. I just haven't done what I normally do. And the reason is because there was some solder hanging off the end of one of those pins, which was making it sit up high. So I just did my full-on drag solder to make it sit flat. Okay, so there's that. There's that. Here we go. And now we start on our trace repairs, and we'll grab our little bit of wire for that. We're getting pretty used to this now, given the amount of trace repair I've been doing in this particular video. And I am kind of have the board around the wrong way. I'd really like to be able to have the board so that my, I don't know actually, come to think of it. Maybe I should start here. That piece of wire is way longer than I need. Let's go. If I put it there like that, I'll solder it onto that line there, and then I'll start bending it around that way. Now these, of course, two join together, so I might just run it to there and then just run it across like that. Yeah, I do that. So the electrons don't fall out. Yes, good old David Jones. Yeah. Keep it upside down so the electrons don't fall out. my terrible David Jones impersonation. That guy is one smart cookie, I tell you. I'd love to have his acquired knowledge. I love the way he just looks at things. He just grabs a device, a power supply or whatever, and he just looks at it and he just instantly knows what every single thing on it does and how it works. And he goes, oh, look, they've got a secondary thingy. Who's a what's here? And it's just, love it. As I say, I would just love to have that sort of knowledge. I probably know some stuff he doesn't know there. I had someone do a little comment in one of my videos quite recently saying, oh, you know these repairs you do, they wouldn't meet something or other standard. And I was sort of like, yeah, sure, probably not. I'm not trying to, I don't want to be rude. I mean, it's nice of that person to actually let me know and all that. But at the end of the day, when I'm repairing these things, the most important thing is that the device works afterwards, stays working, and the customer is happy. So I sort of feel like sometimes people like to comment on things just for the sake of it. But nothing better to do. This one isn't as clean as the one I did before. I realise that. No comments, please, people. There we go. Good night, guys. Okay, thank you very much, eBuy05. If you are still around, I thank you. I'm sorry if you have already left, but I didn't acknowledge your message. I do miss messages at times sometimes because I'm pissy, very pissy. Okay. Right. Oopsie. Where's my beepity beep? Another beepity beep. There we go. So we've got let's try that out. Beep, 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 beep. Looking good. Okay, so that's that one repaired. Should we just try it again? Might as well. Ain't no harm in trying. Let's connect up a little speaker here. Like that. And I gotta get my power supply back, and I gotta plug it in again. What a pain in the bum. I haven't even looked for missing components. That does happen a lot on these. You know, the ones that are on the bottom, they fall off. I haven't even checked for that. Haven't even. Not even. What time is it? It's coming up for 3 p.m. At my time, that is. I'm in Sydney. I really should look further, shouldn't I? I mean, I shouldn't just be going in and fix a thing and then try it, fix a thing and then try it. If it doesn't work this time, I promise to look over the board properly after that, alright? Promise. You are bypassing the power button. I must have missed it. Yes, that is correct. I am bypassing the power button. And so we've got that connected. And I'm just going to now see what happens when I plug in some power. As I say, there's no switch on this, so it'll just fire up if it fires up. Did you hear that? Ooh. Right, so now we have the bit that we all came for. We didn't really, but we're going to do it anyway. 4 megabytes of RAM in here. That's what I have. I have a display card floating around here somewhere. Just 2 seconds. Side angle. Oh, I'm not going a long way, but I'm just going to go out of camera view. So sit tight. Bear with. All right, check it. Right. Display card. Monitor. SCSI to SD. Weird sticky petrol fumes. Okay. These are all the bits I need for testing it. So, we've got ourselves a new bus card. Not an old bus card, but a new bus card. This is an interesting one. This one I had to clean it. It got really, really dirty. I won't tell you how. But let's just say it involved a cat. Look at that. I'm going to connect my little monitor into here. And then I'm going to get this, which is my SCSI USB. Plug that in there. How's the new ultrasonic cleaner? It is freaking awesome, I have to say. I mean, seriously, if we just want to sit here and talk about ultrasonic cleaners, I'm happy to do that. Because I am just loving the new ultrasonic cleaner. I'm all about it, as they say. As the young people say. And they probably don't say that. I've got no idea what young people say. I only hang around old people. Sorry to anyone who hangs around me who thinks they're young. Okay, we've got a little flash on the SCSI. And let me just check this. I'm just going to do something very configuration on this display. It looks like I'm getting some video issues. I'm getting a little bit behind here. It might just be a more A pattern. Sometimes get a more A pattern. Now, it's not starting up the SCSI. I know why that is, don't you? Anyone know why it's not starting up off the SCSI to SD? Oh, Steve will know. I don't know if these lines are actually part of the video issue or they're just... Okay, display needs some shielding. Shield schmield. We don't need no stinking shielding. That's not good. Okay, that's just come undone, so let me just... Sorry, this is there we go. All right. Now, I need a hard drive. Lots of very loud audio feedback when it's near your mic. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Thank you for letting me know. I did not know. So maybe I do need stinking shielding. We might do that. But anyhow, look, what I need to do at this stage is I need to go and get a hard drive because for anyone who didn't get the internal bus needs termination. Yes, congratulations to Mr. Fahrenheit for getting that one correct. And I am going to... do I have a hard drive in here? Let me just check. If not, I'll have to go up to the house and grab one. But I might have one floating around here for this very purpose. The hard drive doesn't actually need to work or be switched on. It just needs to be plugged in to provide the termination. There are, of course, terminators. I do have one, I think, attached to my Quadra 950. I think it has an internal terminator. But that's up in the house as well. So it doesn't serve any purpose to me down here. So I am going to just do the whole little be right back thing. And I will be right back thing. And I'll go get a hard drive. But I'll be back in a sec so that we can see the booting up. Hard drive. Okay. Let's try this now. Because I'm not powering it up, so it won't actually boot from it. Now let's see what happens. Oops. Oh, what have I done? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There we go. So, let's see. We get a chime, we get a start. We've got our screen. I'm going to keep this away from my microphone. Because, you know, people whinging. People whinging. We're going to get a little, hopefully, a little Happy Mac come up. Now, as these vertical bars, as I say, until it actually boots up and gets away from the little cross pattern here, I don't know if those stripes are... Oh, have we got Happy Mac? Yeah, no, the stripes are actually just a moire pattern. The stripes are not a problem because those stripes aren't appearing on that. So if I was to run this on a different monitor, not this pissy little one, you wouldn't see those stripes. I have seen this happen on the Mac 2 before. It's probably this display card. I've got a better display card, but it's currently plugged into my Macintosh II CI. This is the one that I used to have. This is one I just use for testing, basically. Okay, there we go. Look at that. So what I'm going to do to just prove to you guys... I didn't plug in a keyboard or a mouse, did I? Because I'm some kind of stupid, wacky person. There's that noise. Okay. Keyboard and mouse. Where's the mouse? You know it can't be too far because I can see the cable. So I'm just going to do something very quickly here. Yeah, there's some wicked moiré going on. This resolution. This monitor does not like this resolution at all. Oh, sorry. I've got something resting on the keyboard. Calculator. Sorry, this won't be a second. It'd be so good if I could just show you what I'm seeing here through OBS. I would love to be able to do that, but I don't have the fancy gear that Steve has. One day, maybe. Okay, colors. 256 colors. And let's go to... I just cannot believe how bad this is displaying this signal. Maybe it's my adapter, I don't know. Who knows? Whoa, what did I just do then? Far out. Oh, I've just done something really wacky. This monitor I'm holding in my hand can do all sorts of fancy things. And one of the things you can do is just display red or just display green or just display blue. And I've accidentally just displayed red. There we go. Yeah, okay. Oh, far out. Pull your brain together, will you, clown? Sorry, I'm talking to myself. Menu. Auto config. Come on, you can do better than this. We can all do better. Okay. Yeah, it really does not like the output it's getting from that display card. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to go to... What is it? It's General Controls. General Controls. Yep. I'm going to change the desktop pattern into a solid color or something like that, and it will be far less noticeable. There we go. I've done a lovely shade of blue or cyan. And there we have it. I know you can't see it very well because of the brightness, but how about if I do this? Oh, jeez. Sorry, guys. This is like... How about I do... If I put this up there like that... Getting some reflection, but there you can see it. So anyhow, look, what we have here at the moment is we have a repaired Mac 2. So everyone's happy. It's recapped, it's repaired, it's working, it boots, it's all wonderful. So the next step for this for me will be to put it into the ultrasonic cleaner for a second time. Then I'm going to get in here and hit this with some UV solder mask to clear up all of those problem areas. And then I will move on to the next one. I don't think I'll keep streaming that though, because oh, actually, you know what I do need to do, which I haven't done. I need to test the startup circuit. So that's what we're going to do now. So I hope everyone's still with me. You're with me. And the way I'm going to test the startup circuit is by using the actual power supply that came with it, which the customer has sent me, which is always nice when they do that. It makes my life a little bit easier to use the power supplies that they actually come with. There we go. This camera has a number of dead spots. Yes, we did cover that earlier on, Dana, and it's basically the reason why it has these dead spots. There's no point in me pointing to them on the screen. You can't see that. The reason why it has these dead spots, one there, and one here, and one here, is because I was shining my UV laser at the camera, being a silly bugger in one of my previous streams, and I've damaged the camera, so I'm going to have to buy a new one. Yeah, so anyhow, that's the Idiot of the Year award being awarded to me. But I guess, you know, it's good to be good at something, isn't it? Right, so here's the original power supply. Oh crap, I can't do that without the battery holders, can I? Man. Do you want to watch me put the battery holders on? Or is that just too boring? Actually, I'm not going to put the battery holders on. Oh, actually, I should put the battery holders on. And then take them off again. Because I've got a UV solder mask around there. So I'm going to have to put the battery holders on and then take them off again. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put the battery holders on, and then we're going to test it. I don't need to connect it to a display to test it, because it'll either go dong or it won't go dong. We know that the display works. We know it boots. We know SCSI works. So that side of things is fine. We'll just get these battery holders on here. So now the customer did actually supply me with some battery holders. So I'm going to use theirs. Now what I can tell you about these battery holders is they are not a perfect fit. And they either need a little bit of modification or a bit of bending. We'll just see what we end up with here. So let me just get all these screens and things out of the way. I'll pop it up on this great big shelf of my massive ultrasonic cleaner. Here we go. Oh, he's even given me... Look, he had RAM in here as well. Yep. He had 5 megabytes of RAM here. 4 ones, 4 256s. So here are the little battery holders. They even provide me with batteries. Isn't that nice? Didn't want to pay my exorbitant prices for batteries. Exorbitant. Can I share the link to the special ones I use? I certainly can. They're pretty distinctive in that they have this little plastic bits around the side that hold on to the battery, and then they've got this spring, and then they have these long pins coming out that are quite bendy. And that's the thing. So when I put these on, that's the positive side there, you'll see they're short by about a good probably 4 or 5 millimeters. Now what I have done in the past is I have just grabbed my little snippery news here, and let me just change over to the microscope. It's probably too much of a zoom view for what I want to do here, but what I do, God, this stupid board's so big. Everyone's getting upset. Right, okay. So what I end up doing is I do a little snip in here, so that wire's got somewhere to bend out to. So a little snippy snip, a snippy snip. We seeing that? Like that. I'm going to try and get that out there. Might clean it up a little bit with a scalpel. But just do a little bit of a snip. So when that wire is there, that wire's got somewhere to bend out to when I feed it through that hole. you know, you end up having to do all sorts of makeshift stuff. I didn't know that story about Apollo 12. Yeah, well, see, here's a really interesting thing. In the olden days, video cameras used to use a thing called a oh crap, what were they called? I've forgotten. But they didn't use what we use in cameras these days, which is CCDs or charge coupled devices. And the old ones, the old video cameras, TV cameras, they used like a tube type thing in them. Now, if you shine a bright light in those, that bright light could end up staying there forever as a little spot. Not so much of a problem with the modern cameras, which is why it surprises me that I ended up getting spots on this one. But it might be something to do with the fact that it's UV. Should I just be dremeling this? Oh, by the way, Steve, you were asking me about what fitting I use on the Dremel for doing the cutting of the chips. And I did actually see the other day which one it was. The one I use is a 105. So if you are, I don't know which one you ended up buying, but the one that I use is a 105. Hello. Hello. Let me check which one I got. Yep, cool. It'll probably be either a 105 or a 106. There we go. I did it way better the second time, didn't I? First time I mucked around with it for ages. Right. Vidicon tube on those cameras. Not sure if they were common or not. Yeah. Okay. So obviously, once they had those, when they had those old analog tubes, they could be damaged, permanently damaged by light. Basically, what would happen is the light would just not go away. So if you shone a really bright light on them, you would leave that indelible bright spot on there. As I say, I am actually if I'd have known the laser was going to wreck the bloody camera, I certainly wouldn't have done it. I really did not expect that outcome. Ouch, I just stabbed myself with that pin. Reminds me, one day I went to my local electronics retailer to buy, I think, some resistors, probably resistors. No, it was capacitors, that's right. And I went to put my hand in the container with the capacitors in there, and one of the pins went right up underneath my fingernail. Ouchie. Is that a new battery socket? Yes, it certainly is. So we are going to put them here. I do need to, as I said before, I'm going to have to take this off. I've got a pair of 105. There you go, 105s. So we're using the same ones. So I'm going to probably take these off afterwards. So I'm not going to go too heavy onto the solder because I want to. So I'm basically now just bending these pins out to fit, and then I'm just going to push it down, and it works. It works. Yeah, it really works. Just make sure we get the polarity right, because you know what happens when you reverse the polarity. Just watch a Doctor Who episode. Terrible things happen when you reverse the polarity. Now that's right. I remember this too. I had to do something to make them fit next to each other. What did I do? I did something. I make them smaller on it. Bend it sideways. Oh yeah, that'll do. I'll get them all neat and tidy later on. For the moment, I'm just going to solder them on. Super quick solder. 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 I haven't got my glasses on. I mean, I've got my glasses on. You can clearly see I've got my glasses on, but I haven't got my reading glasses on. My goggles, as I call them. So, you know, I'm virtually soldering blind here, so these joints will not be my best. But, as I say, given the fact that I'm going to remove them anyway, probably not important. I'm going to leave a little bit of extra pin here. Alright, now we can get into the fancy pants testing. Let's get a couple of batteries. Yes, I don't actually remember that from the... I have seen a 50th anniversary episode, but I don't remember that bit. But in particular, for anyone who is a Doctor Who fan and likes watching the old ones, you want to talk about the ones from like 70s and 80s and stuff like that. John Pertwee, the John Pertwee episode. So he was the third Doctor. So you obviously had William Hartnell as the first one. Then you had... what was his name? I can't remember his name. He was a good Doctor, but anyhow. And then the next one was John Pertwee. And John Pertwee was reversing the polarity all the time. I mean, virtually every episode ended with him fixing something by reversing the polarity. What we'll do here is we'll reverse the polarity. Patrick Troughton, that's it. Thank you. I'm usually pretty good at remembering all the Doctors' names, but yeah, as I said, I'm getting old. There was, so John Pertwee, and then there was Tom Baker, and then there was... oh, what was that guy's name? Look, I used to just be able to rattle them all off. Bang, 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 bang. Not anymore. I like those old ones. I grew up with those old ones because I'm an old fart. Right, so now we're going to check and see if the startup circuit works. Now, if it doesn't, it doesn't really faze me too much. I've got not only good schematics of the startup circuits on all of these, but a pretty good understanding of how they work. So for me, repairing the startup circuit's really not too much of an issue. I'm quite happy with that. But I'm expecting this will work. All right, are we ready? Oh, I should mention that I don't even know if this power supply works. Let's try it with the keyboard. It certainly doesn't work with that switch, but I think there are some ugly traces around there. So let's try it with the keyboard. Yeah, that works. So we've got a problem with the switch here, or the traces coming out of that switch. Startup circuit works with starting it up with a keyboard, so that's all fantastic. But what... oh, the switch worked that time. Maybe this is just needing to warm up, because it's probably got old capacitors and whatnot. Yeah, we know Dana's a nerd. That's all right. Now that's interesting. Okay, so the switch switched it off, but it's not switching it on. Never had that happen before. It's Trey's weird. Okay, Peter Davidson, that's it. Yep, sorry. Right, so, alright, well, let's have a look. I'm just going to have a quick look at this switch, see if I can see anything obvious. But after that, I'm then going to just close this stream down. I've been going for a fair while. I say, hold the switch for a sec. I think I did that, didn't I? Do you want me to hold it for a bit longer? I'll hold it for a bit longer. To appease Steve. And as I say, he has just been working on one of these, so he is now the authority on the subject. So I need to listen to what Steve says. All right. 1, 2, 3. That's hurting my finger now. No. Nothing happening when I hold it down. Yoy. Okay. Power supply comes off. And we'll just have a quick little look at that switch. Yeah, switch probably doesn't like me. Right. So, yeah, that's alright. Oh, hang on. Phew. Yeah, That's what we call in the biz a trace break. So we've got one more trace repair and then we can be done with it. And everyone can go on their merry way and just be able to walk away and say, hey, I did a good thing today. I sat and watched Bruce repair traces for way longer than I should have. That's a fuse, by the way, if anyone's wondering what that yellow thing is. The streams are always way more satisfying when the thing works at the end, aren't they? I find anyway. Certainly satisfying from my perspective, but I imagine from a watching perspective it's a lot better when you actually see the thing work at the end. So this is me, again, just using my little trick here where I get some solder and some wick and I coat that, that trace, and the dark bits that are left behind give me a pretty good indication of where the breaks are. So I'm probably going to run it right to that little curve there. I just melted some plastic, so that smell's going to be hitting me in a minute. Love that. So I'm probably... Oh, God, it stinks. God, I hate the smell of melted plastic. So I'm going to run it from here to here. I'll try and keep this quick, because I know that, I mean, it's bloody late where some of you are. And it is a school night for you guys. It's not for me. It's Friday. So I can stay up late tonight and carry on. Oh, that smell of plastic. I hate it. Doesn't it give you cancer? It gives you cancer. Everything gives you cancer. Thank you to everyone who has been watching for the duration here, or those who even join a little bit late. It's, as I said, I do like having the company while I'm doing this stuff. Yeah. There we go. There we go. So if you tin it, you don't have to recoat it with UV coating. That is correct. The solder is, is actually designed so that it doesn't corrode, or it corrodes a lot slower, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I mean, if it's tinned, I don't need to UV solder mask it. Now, if it's an area that's a little bit on the ugly side, I might still UV solder mask it anyway, just to neaten it up. But yeah, I don't need to UV solder mask. I would generally, if I've got an exposed bit of copper, you do one of two things. You can mask it or tin it. You don't necessarily have to do both, even though I do sometimes. 2 pairs of tweezers, that's what I need. Oh, crikey. Ow. These are sharp. Is that plastic again? I hope it's a plastic. I hope it's not the Rona. Now, for people who do like to watch my streams and contact me and say, hey, are you streaming today? Because people do that. They contact me and they say, hey, when are you streaming next? I won't be streaming tomorrow. Unlikely I'll be streaming tomorrow. I have a lunchtime thing. And so it is unlikely that I will be able to... I might be able to fit in a stream later in the day, but even then that will probably be a bit late for some of the US viewers. But I do plan, if I can, to fit in a stream on Sunday. I do have another engagement on Sunday, but I don't know what time that's going to be yet. So hopefully I can fit in a stream somewhere. But this is one of the reasons why I'm streaming today, because there is that level of uncertainty with what's going on this weekend. I left hours ago. This is a J-bot. Is the J-bot as cynical as the real J? Is the J-bot going to say something cruel and mean? Because we all know Dutch people are dicks. But you can't say that on Facebook, because then you get your post banned. Sorry, there's a little bit of in-joke going on there. So for anyone who's just thinking I've just become incredibly racist towards Dutch people, just be aware that this is not me actually being racist towards Dutch people. This is actually relating to some earlier conversations I had with my Dutch friend. Okay. Yes, I think I'm okay. All right. Oh. Okay. So I believe this is going to fix the problem because, I mean, it was a completely and totally broken trace. And it was coming out of the switch. And the switch is the thing that wasn't working. And so, really, does it get more cut and dry than that? I think not. We plugged in the power. I'm now going to press the switch. Oh, joy! Joy! It just doesn't usually get this good. Whoopsie. Except when I go around moving the screen like that. Let me just change to a side angle view. And we can see that. I don't know if you can see the little light on the power here. You can hear the fan for sure. For sure. So that's that. I consider this, definitely one of my finest streams ever. I challenge you. I challenge you to find a better one. I challenge you all to go back and watch every single stream I've ever done and find a better one. Feel free to watch them again. Press the like button. Rate them out of 10 for each one. I don't mind. There we go. So the batteries will come off again. This is going to go into my new fancy... Now, one of the things with my new fancy ultrasonic cleaner is it doesn't have a built-in heater. It might at some stage. But in the meantime, I'm using this immersion heater like this. Should really change camera views. Where to put my mouse? I'm using this this immersion heater here. It floats in it, goes in there, and it heats it up. It only takes about half an hour to heat it up. So, and then I'll drop this in there, and I'll clean it, and then I'll go back and do a bit of UV solder mask. I'll put these battery holders on in a more permanent fashion, make them all look neat and tidy and worthy of a Brankus job. Okay, just going to wick out the... I'm just leaving you all hanging while I'm doing this stuff. You're probably all desperate for me to stop because, as I say, it's... Well, certainly for my East Coast friends, what is that? It's 1:30? Would that be right? 1:30 in the AM? Don't stop on our account. Okay. I'm just going to check on the number of viewers that I have at the moment because I haven't looked in a while. I've dropped down to 27. Whoops. Analytics. There we go. I peaked at 37. That was around about an hour ago. So yeah. There we go. You're not looking at... I'm not showing you what I'm doing. I mean, why would I... What? Play more target practice with the laser on your camera. No. I might do that once I have the new one, but I don't want to make it worse in case I have trouble finding them, because as we know, webcams, well, the last time I checked, they were still obscenely expensive. And I'm worried, I am concerned, that those prices are going to start becoming the new norm. Right. Now, how am I going to get these out? I really should have thought this better, shouldn't I? I still haven't fixed my machine. I lost a bit. So the machine that goes and sucks solder out, I dropped the piece of it on the ground, and I haven't been able to find it yet. And as though Jay has been very quick to point out, I'm in a very, very small area. This is true. But there are a lot of places it could have gone. Under things and stuff and things. Alright, hopefully that'll be able to get those off. One of those Australian spiders. Yeah, it could well be. We got some big ones. Off she comes. Nearly off she comes. I'm just going to apply a little bit more heat on the side here. Every time I look up and I see my camera view, I keep thinking I've got some food or something on my shirt. But it's those little dots. Okay, so there's the battery holders. I've taken those off. So this is now going to spend some time in the ultrasonic. I'm going to whip off these CPUs once again, and I'm going to drop a battery, because that's what I do here. Anything that's round falls off the table. And as per usual, I don't ever show anyone me removing CPUs. I mean, unless people specifically request, they say, "Hey Bruce, can you show us how you remove CPUs?" I might give you like a private viewing or something like that. But I tell you, I don't do it on my live streams, because I know that if I do this on my live streams, there'll be someone out there going, "Oh, you shouldn't take CPUs off like that. That's terrible." Yeah, works for me. I don't damage them; they come off. But I just don't show people what I'm doing. The CPU. Put the CPU in there. Put the battery in there. Put the battery holders in there. Right. So Steve, I need to ask you this question now, seeing as you're here at the moment. When we were, oh god, I'm melting plastic here. Oh, now the place is going to reek now. When we finished the Mac-Yak show, Mac-Yak, if you're not a subscriber, jump on, subscribe to Mac-Yak. We were trying to encourage you to do a live stream, and you said, "No, I've got stuff on, I'm watching a movie," or something like that. I can't remember. Some lame excuse. Anyhow, you're on here now. You're clearly not having dinner anymore. So can I assume, you're not watching a movie, none of that, can I assume that as soon as I finish this live stream, you'll be starting a live stream? Maybe get back onto that SE30? I mean, I did my bit. Just saying. I'm just doing 2 caps on an Apple IIe card, I swear. I have meetings all day tomorrow. Sorry. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Well, okay. Fair enough. Now, one of the other problems I do have with this is that one of these little plastic tabs broke off in my hand when I was removing the RAM sims from this originally. So, look, it still held the RAM in. I just tested it then using the RAM without the little clip on it, so that was fine. This is my RAM, not his. My RAM, not his. My RAM. I might try and glue that little thing back on, but I think it's just a pointless exercise. I think it will just stay snapped. And I always feel terrible when I break plastic. I was working on someone's LC575 just recently. For those who don't know how the hard drive goes into the back of an LC575, it sits on a little tray, and the tray slides into the back of the computer, and then a little piece of plastic clips up to hold it in position. Now, in order for you to get that drive out again, you've got to get that little bit of plastic, the little tab that's holding it in, you've got to bend it down in order to pull the tray out. So you are actually deliberately applying stress to that plastic. And those spindler plastics, we all know what they're like. And sure enough, I went in there, and as careful as I possibly could be, I was bending the thing down to try and get the drive out. Just thinking, I can do this. And then snap, off it comes. And tiny little bits of plastic holding it on, really tiny bits of brittle plastic. So that was a little bit frustrating and disappointing. And of course, I was very apologetic to the customer, but that's one of the conditions. If you're going to send me a computer with those old brittle plastics and I am required to bend them in order to get a hard drive out, you just have to accept that it might end up breaking. So you can glue them together, but the big problem with that is that they break somewhere else. I mean, I had that. I had something where I had a piece of sort of Mac plastic, and a bit had broken off it, and I went in and I glued it back together again. Used a method that made it really, really good solid joint. Built up some support around the outside of it so it wouldn't break there again, and it didn't break there again. It broke like 2 mils up it next time. So I glued that on, and then it broke on the other side, and then I glued that on, and it's just a never-ending battle with those plastics. I mean, unless someone finds some magic way of, I know, spraying them with some magic coating that seeps in and makes them less brittle, that'd be awesome. But yeah, where the teeth inside when you insert it. Okay, install a security bracket into my plaster. Oh, I know the thing that plugs into the back there. Yeah, okay. Why would you do that? I assume you were setting it up somewhere that someone might steal it. Because, yeah, one of the main things that happens when people send me Macs with security brackets in them is they ask me to remove them when I have the back off, which I do. One good thing, of course, is the Mac Plus doesn't have the same brittle plastics as these later ones. The Mac Plus plastics are pretty good. We know, I mean, even when you're looking at Macs that look the same on the outside, let me give you an example. You take an LC2, and you're lifting the tabs on the back, and they're fine. They don't break. They're not brittle. You take an LC475, just a little bit later, same form factor. You go to lift the tabs up on the back of that, and they just snap off in your hand. And, you know, as I say, you're looking at Macs that look incredibly similar, but they're obviously a very, very different compositional plastic. We can do anything like that. Yep, okay, yep, cool, yep. All right. Okay, all right. Just having a quick look at the chat here. All right, well, look, I've been going now for, I don't even know what time I started, so that's irrelevant. What are we going? Oh, I'm coming up for 3 hours. Hey, what's all right? So, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for keeping me company while I fixed up this Mac 2. The customer's going to be extremely pleased to have this working. I am as well. And seeing as I have one of these with very similar problems, it's all very encouraging to know that this one repaired relatively easily. So, thank you all for watching. Thank you for keeping me company. Thank you for spending time. And thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the compliments. Thank you for the attendance, all that sort of stuff. So, as I said, I am aiming to try and do another stream on the weekend. If I can't, I do apologise. Thank you all. Have a good rest of evening, rest of day, rest of morning, whatever it happens to be in your part of the world. And I will hopefully see you at the next one. So, bye all.